Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome back to That's What's Up with your host, Qiyamah Muhammad. And we're here with our guest for today, Miss Brianna. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
My name is Brianna Thomas, and just happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Kind of long overdue.
Definitely, it's an honor having you be our guest for today. So I guess to just get into it, we could start with your childhood. So, like bringing it all the way back, you know how your parents reacted when you were born?
Well, my family knew nothing about albinism, like nothing at all. The day that I was born, all my mom pretty much knew was that she gave birth to me, that I was her daughter, and she constantly would remind me that growing up. She didn't know anything about albinism. The hospital that I was born in, they didn't tell her. She went, I believe, a whole year without knowing anything. It wasn't until one day I believe she took me to the pool, and she had me out in the sun way too long, and I got sunburnt, and she took me to the hospital because I was burnt like really bad. And that's when they finally told her, well, yeah, your child has albinism and her skin is sensitive to the sun and the UV rays and things like that. And that's pretty much how it all started. A lot of my family members would try and do a little research, just a little bit more background on exactly what albinism was. But back then, even though I'm not really that old, back then people didn't really know much. Childhood wise, it was pretty rough because I went to a primarily Black school for elementary school, middle school. I'm getting tongue-tied myself. I didn't experience seeing anybody else with albinism until I was about 19 years old. So for 19 years, I thought that I was pretty much the only one. I never saw anybody else like me. I never been around anybody else like me. And I thought that there was something wrong with me because of the fact that I did not look like my family. I felt pretty disconnected. And growing up, it was kind of hard because my family was learning with me the same way that I was learning about myself. All I knew was that I was Black. Mm-hmm. And I would encounter people who would say, oh, you're not Black, or you're mixed with something. And I'm like, but I'm not. Like, my mom told me I'm Black. My mom is Black. My dad is Black. My brothers are Black. Everybody's like melanated, and I'm not. So I would feel like I didn't belong. And it was kind of rough. Pretty much anywhere and everywhere that I went, I didn't have a sense of belonging. I felt like I didn't fit in anywhere until I got older and I started to learn more. And then I got on social media and I started seeing a bunch of other people with albinism and people driving and having like regular jobs and having families. And it just really changed my whole mindset on just the type of life that I could possibly have with albinism. So like I was told, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was told at a young age that I would have to go to a special needs school, that I wouldn't be able to live a normal life. I wouldn't be able to live on my own. I wouldn't be able to drive. Like, I basically would be codependent for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I've proved them wrong. I went to regular school. It was kind of difficult because of not being able to see the chalkboard, especially when they were dirty and they needed to be cleaned. It's really hard. I didn't have any special equipment like some people that I know of for schooling and being able to read books and things like that. So schooling was pretty difficult. But I think that the turning point for me probably might have been high school. That's when I got a real dose of what the world is and how I can't let my disability, as far as my vision and everything, keep me from fully progressing. I learned a lot more about just being confident in myself and in my skin and just starting to not care what people think. I'm still working on it now, but compared to me as a child, I've developed a lot more self-esteem and self-worth.
And I bet it's like when you saw other people, you know, that looks like us, like doing their things, like, yeah.
I was so excited. I was so happy. Like, these are strangers to me, but they look like me. They look like me, and they're out there living their lives. They're out there on the grind. They out there achieving their goals, living their best life. I think that the first time that I ever saw somebody with albinism, honestly, it was Deandra Forrest, and it was when she was on an episode of the Tyra Banks show with Sean Ross. And my mom called, she's like, look, Brianna, look, they have albinism just like you. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, my jaw just dropped, like, wow, like I'm really not the only one.
Right.
Like, and they're models at that. Like, I used to feel so, I hate to say ugly, but I did. Like, I felt unattractive. Nobody ever had a crush on me. Like, nobody ever liked me or anything like that. And if they did, it was always like as a joke, like trying to pick on whoever it is that they were saying liked me or whatever. It was never like a genuine crush. And that was pretty rough too. That was pretty wet. But that's in the past now. So
yeah, I can like definitely relate just with the schooling and everything. Not so much with the crushes. I was mainly the one.
The one that everybody liked.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I was the one that liked everybody.
Okay. I mean, I did have crushes, but I never really said anything about it. Like, I would tell whatever small group of friends that I had, but I would never like act out on it because I was shy. I'm still shy now. Like, I just, making the first move, it's difficult for me because the few times that I did work up the courage to try and talk to someone, it was always rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. And that's part of why I used to just feel so unattractive. Like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm a normal person just like everybody else. Like, am I not pretty? Am I not attractive? But I'm letting go of that. I'm started letting go of that a lot. Like, I'm me, and I can't change my skin like I can change my clothes. I can't change my skin like I can change my hair. I can't change my skin like I can change my jewelry. I wake up in this skin every day. So every day I just have to own it because it's part of who I am.
They were missing out because you're very pretty. Like, I don't know what they thought, but
oh, shucks. Thank you. I try. I hook it up every now and then.
It's like, I've been seeing you on Instagram and everything. Yeah.
I try, man. This social media stuff is hard, especially with the limits that we have as far as like our vision goes. I'm like trying to transition into being a content creator, but like I'm nervous because in some ways, I feel like I'm a perfectionist. Like, I know I see everybody else's videos and I'm like, I want my stuff to look like that. But it's like, I don't really know how to make that same type of content. So I've started to rewire myself and say, I can't go for what everybody else does. I got to go for what comes naturally to me. And I had to move at my own pace because I know that sometimes if I rush into things too much, I don't give it the type of attention that it deserves. I want to try and dip into YouTube finally. After I started a channel, and I think I only posted 2 videos on it, but I was going through so many different life things that I stopped. I want to get back into that. I freelance model every now and then, so I want to start getting into that a little bit more. But all of these things pretty much will tie into just me bringing more awareness into the fact that people like us exist and we're just regular. I don't want to say fully regular because everybody has their own uniqueness, but we want to be treated like regular people. I remember when people would freak out if like I accidentally bumped my arm against theirs. They were like, ew, like thinking that like it's contagious. Like if I touch you, that you'll end up looking like me. And that's not the case. Ignorance, but hey, I feel like I was born this way for a reason. And part of that reason is to educate people in the best way that I can on albinism and just make people more aware.
Definitely. That's also like the reason why I started oh, excuse me, voice crack. But yes, that's one of the main reasons I started just doing this with confident albino brothers and sisters. Like there hasn't really been much attention geared towards like, people with albinism, and especially people of color with albinism.
Right.
Specifically Black albinos.
Right.
So far from what I've seen and just from what my family has seen, there hasn't been an organization like for their target audience to be Black albinos. It's kind of like I'm the first one, so like I'm trying to
pave the way for everybody else. If I'm not mistaken, I think that your page was one of the first pages that I followed when I made an Instagram.
Really?
Before I got all of whatever followers I have now, I think that it was your page. It was a few models that I started following and maybe 1 or 2 other awareness type pages that I started following. That's when it really hit me like there are a lot of other people out here that look like me.
I'm glad that ended up with us being here.
Right. Right.
Excuse me. Yeah. I guess I'm going back just a bit. So you mentioned that you have brothers, and they don't have albinism, right?
No. As far as I know, and as far as my family knows, I'm probably the first ever in my family history to be born with albinism. I have 2 older brothers, a younger brother and a younger sister, and pretty much everybody's melanated. Even though it's different shades, nobody, literally nobody looks like me. Nobody has albinism in my family, on my mother or my father's side.
And I bet even if you did, it's probably like generations back, just because
it it has to legit be way, way down the line, some way far back, because as far back as my family knows, never. It's never happened.
Mm. So how was your relationship with like your siblings and just just family in general with your
Well, me and my siblings, our relationship could be better if I'm being honest.
Mhm.
It's not bad. Like it's not bad at all. We all love each other. We all are always there for each other. We're very supportive of each other's dreams and everything, but naturally certain things in life get in the way, and it's certain things that I go through that they can't necessarily understand or relate to because they're not in the same situation that I'm in. My youngest brother is probably like my ride or die. Like if anybody looked at me funny, he just was ready to throw them hands up and just like, what you looking at? There's nothing wrong with my sister. Like I've been looking at her like that. We got into so many fights, and honestly, the message that I pretty much pushed and my mom pushed and we all just kind of like learned together is that we can't fight everybody. Because if that's the case, we're gonna be fighting every day, all day, every day, and we're gonna be tired. You're going to wake up the next day and fight some more and fight some more and fight some more, when really the only way to handle people is through educating them. And fighting and violence and everything isn't always the answer. I used to feel like I used to have my guard up in the house, outside of the house, everywhere I went. Basically, when I was younger, I felt like I didn't really have any peace anywhere because I lived in a predominant neighborhood. So I went through a lot of different experiences as far as bullying, verbally, physically. It was pretty difficult because people didn't understand, and some people didn't care to learn. They would rather just go with what they felt like was right, I guess, even though it wasn't. They wouldn't respect the fact that everybody's different.
Like they'd rather choose to be ignorant than choose to learn and just be a better person.
Pretty much. I believe one time I had went somewhere with my mom, and somebody basically thought that she kidnapped me. She got out of the car for a second to go and run into a store. We were on our way home. We were basically making our way back home. But I had to go to the bathroom so bad. And I was young. I was really, really young at this time. I was trying to hold my bladder, but I was like bouncing in the chair, just waiting for my mom to come out. And then I started crying because I'm like, oh my God, I really have to go. And I believe it was like a parking authority person walking by, and they saw me in the car right as my mom was coming out of the store. And I was like, is this your child? And this and the other. It's like, yes, like this is my daughter. I'm like, yeah, that's my mom. But like, I have to go to the bathroom. Like, can we hurry this up so that I can get home? But the fact that she was brown, is brown, and you see this white child in this car, they just automatically assumed that she possibly had kidnapped me. But my mom broke it all down, and we went on about our way. I made it to the bathroom. I ran into the house so I could use the bathroom, but that whole situation was cleared up. And growing up, people would look at my brothers and say, oh, you look like your dad, and oh, you look like your mom. And then they look at me and it's like, well, you don't really look like anybody. It wasn't until I started like wearing makeup and experimenting with different hair colors and things like that, that people started to really pay attention to my features and the fact that I actually do favor my parents way more than people would expect. Me and my second oldest brother are practically practically twins. We all have similar facial features, but the absence of pigment and the absence of color in my eyebrows and my eyelashes and things like that, it just makes people wash everything away. Mm-hmm. And I just wish that I knew the proper way to tell people, because I didn't really talk much as a kid. Mm-hmm. I was always kind of nervous. I was always on edge. I was always anxious because I felt like everybody was watching me. And I didn't really know how to properly communicate my situation to them, because in some ways I was still learning about albinism myself. So I can't really teach you anything if I don't know, but I'm an adult now. I know a lot more. I can push forth the message, a lot easier now.
So how would you respond to someone now that you have more knowledge just about albinism and everything?
I think that it stems from the approach. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I have no problem answering questions if anybody ever has questions to ask, but the way that somebody approaches me is key. Mm-hmm. A lot of people ask about like the movement or nystagmus. Like, can you look at me when you're talking to me? And I'm like, I'm trying to, but I can't. Like, it's hard to do. Mm-hmm. If somebody says, why you look like that? I'm gonna be like, I don't know how to respond to that. That's kind of negative. That mm-hmm. sounds kind of combative, and it sounds ignorant.
Right.
I usually try to brush that off. If I'm having a good mental day, then I just let that go. Like, they don't know no better. I'm just gonna leave it alone. But if somebody comes and asks me, like, honestly, I don't want to try and sound mean or ignorant or anything like that, but why are you so light? Mm-hmm. Then I'll go into, okay, well, I have this condition, it's called albinism. I basically lack pigment and melanin in my hair, skin, and my eyes. I usually tell people that what they have in their skin to protect them from like the sun and everything like that, what makes them that color, I don't have that. Mm. And it's not really something that I can fix. It's not really anything that I can do about it. This is just how I was made. And sometimes people still don't get it. I don't know if it's because I'm not relaying the message properly. I don't know if it's because I'm explaining it in the best way that I can. Mm-hmm. But I also always tell people to do their research. If you're confused on anything that I'm saying, we have the internet. We have all of these different things at our disposal where we can absorb information. Mm-hmm. Like if you feel like I'm not explaining something properly to you, there's always Google. Right. There's always YouTube. There's always some search engine somewhere where you can properly educate yourself. And if you have any other questions after you do whatever research you do, you can always ask me the next time you see me, and I have no problem answering it.
Mm-hmm. Because there's only so many ways we can explain it.
Right.
Explain things without, either repeating it the same way or just not explaining mm-hmm. it thoroughly.
Mm-hmm. The fact that one thing that kills me when I am explaining albinism to people is the fact that they think that it's a race. Like, no, it's a genetic condition. It's not just, we're not all one particular race. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, are you Black? Yeah, of course I'm Black. See this nose? See these lips? These is Black people features up and down. Mm-hmm. I recently experienced a moment on social media where a picture of me was shared on the Fenty Beauty page. Shout out to Fenty, thank you. But anywho, a lot of the comments were people, they were talking about my lips. And they were like, oh, she got her lips done. She got her lips done. No, I came out the womb with these.
Like,
These have been big and full since I was born. I haven't had any type of work done whatsoever. And it just cracked me up because it makes me think about the world that we live in today, where people are just so prone to feeling as though something on someone is fake or synthetic because of all of the different plastic surgeries that everybody's out there getting and lip fillers and things like that. But it never crosses someone's mind that this particular feature on this particular person could be natural.
Mm-hmm.
You just jump automatically to, oh, this is fake, this is synthetic, this is prosthetic or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was organically made, hun. Everything I got is just what I was blessed with.
It's just all natural born.
Yes.
That always trips me out too. It's just either people think, like, you know, as you said, it's like albinism is just a whole race, or you're just white. It's like there's no in between. Like, oh yeah, you can be Black and have albinism. Like, that's just not.
It seems so far-fetched to people because of the fact that when we're young,
Mm-hmm.
we're not taught race automatically.
Mm-hmm.
I say, okay, let me try and backtrack. I say this a lot more in my adult years. And after everything that I've experienced with having albinism, we are not categorized as anything until we're exposed to it, whether it be by our peers, by our teachers, by our family members. We're human beings first. Like, when you're conceived, all your mom knows is that she's carrying a child in her womb. She doesn't know if it's going to be a boy, if it's going to be a girl, if you're going to be tall, if you're going to be short, light skin, dark skin, whatever. You have no idea. And as you develop in the womb, that's when you find out, oh, it's a boy, oh, it's a girl. Even then, you still have no idea what shade. This is geared more so towards the African American community. You have no idea what shade your child is going to be born because of the fact that we can produce so many different shades of Black. Black doesn't just come in light brown and dark brown. There's a whole spectrum. There's a whole spectrum of color that it seems like we just don't acknowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to prove my Blackness way too often and way too much. Sometimes the nose and the lips and my facial features isn't enough. Sometimes I feel like maybe I need to wear my natural hair for you to understand where I come from.
And that reminds me of a conversation that me and my parents had when, like, you reminded me of it when you mentioned how just the whole like spectrum and like shades that we don't even consider. It was like this trend going around where people would like they'd be in like a like I guess their most natural state with like nothing on, but then
right.
Be a transition, and then they'd have like their makeup and hair done and everything, and it was these albino sisters. They did the trend, but then everybody started tagging them. Was like, why are you taking this trend from Black people or whatever? And it's like, but they are Black.
Wow.
And I was telling my parents how it just makes me feel some type of way when there's these, it's, you know, the communities that we're a part of, but we feel like we're not a part of just because we're not, you know, as melanated
Right.
they are. And it's like we're kind of just shunned and ignored.
Right.
Even when we try to, you know, like, have a voice with it.
Right.
Like, no, this isn't
I get it. I get it. And I feel like the sad part is the only time that we ever are acknowledged is when we're used in like a creative setting.
Mm-hmm.
When we're used as models or when we're used in like music videos. And the crazy part is people have been referring to us. And when I say us, I mean people with albinism. They've been referring to us in music in all different types of ways. And it's like, y'all still not hip yet. Y'all still don't get it. Like, we exist and we feel like it's hard. When I say we, I'm speaking on like the people that I've had these conversations with. It's hard to stand with your brother and your sister and the Black community because, like you just said, we don't feel like we're a part of it. The only time that you want to acknowledge us is when you want to make $1 off of our look, off of our uniqueness. And then once you've gotten what you've gotten from us, it's like you just toss us aside. But I honestly think that with times changing the way that they are, that more and more of us are just like getting sick and tired. If I'm being honest, like we're fed up. We're completely fed up with the fact that we're not being included in the ways that make us feel comfortable. It's not fair. And you can't, I just feel like you can't try and use us for your benefit and not acknowledge that we're people too. We're Black, just like you. We're Black.
Like in movies, be like have that token Black, and then those were we have that token albino.
Exactly. That's the key. That's the word that I couldn't seem to find. Token person with albinism. And the way that we're depicted in the media burns me up too, because there are so many different movies and like references to us. One example that I can think of off the top of my head was that movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I think it was. And the girl who was supposedly, I guess, haunting the town or the book or whatever, they said that she was a witch. But later on in the movie, they find out that she had some form of albinism. And that's why her family kept her locked in the basement and all types of stuff like that. It's like, why can't we just be regular people? Why can't I just be that girl that's just walking down the street? Or why can't I play a major or even a secondary role in a movie and just be a regular person? Why do I have to be a witch? Why do I have to be deformed? Why do I have to have some type of abnormality and have that type of message be forced? I realized that with those types of things, that makes people scared, especially children. That makes children scared of us. And that makes me uncomfortable because even if you can't teach an adult about albinism, I feel like you can teach a child. It might be easier for you to reach a child. And I had a cousin who wasn't familiar. She was young. She was a child. She was very young. And she was scared to hug me to the point where she cried. And it made me upset. But I also reminded myself, Brianna, she's young. She's just a child. This is a teachable moment. This is not supposed to be a moment where you get your feelings hurt or you get offended or anything like that. This is your family. This is a child. You teach her. And once I broke it down to her, and once her mom broke it down to her, she came up and she hugged me, and it made me feel so good inside. Another family member, one of my other cousins, my younger cousin, Savannah, I think she's like 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The first time she saw me was on FaceTime. My mom had went to Delaware and was spending some time with some family members, but I was home. My mom calls me multiple times a day to check in on me. So that day she had Savannah with her. And the first thing she said was, "Oh my God, you're so pretty." And it made me feel so good inside because I felt like such a couch potato bum. Like my hair was just in a scarf. I didn't have no makeup on, no nothing, just relaxing in my space. She's like, "Oh my God, you're so pretty." Mm-hmm. I smiled the rest of the day after hearing that because I was having such a bad day. And when people, adults or children, acknowledge us in a positive way, it just makes me feel so good inside.
Mm-hmm. It's like, especially when it's like all your life, it's like most of the stuff that's been said to you has been negative.
Right.
It's just like that one tiny thing could make your whole day.
For the longest, that's all I ever really experienced anywhere was the negative. And when people compliment me now, it's like, I appreciate it. I genuinely appreciate it. But there's still that part of me that kind of like cringes because I'm waiting for the shade or like, you know, the joke or the negative part of it. I can't fully accept your compliment because I've never really been on the receiving end of a genuine compliment before.
Yeah, same here. It's like kind of just waiting for, it's like, "Oh, you're pretty," but it's like,
right. Right.
Like,
right. And that burns me up about myself. But I'm starting to get a lot more accustomed to just accepting compliments for what they are and just looking at the brighter side of things. And the crazy part is, with as far as terms of beauty goes and attractiveness and everything, I feel like we all have it bad as people with albinism, but sometimes I feel for the men. Who have albinism, because us women, we can change our hair. We can dye our hair. We can get a weave. We can wear a wig. We can put on makeup and all types of things like that. But the men don't necessarily have that. And I just want my albino brothers to know that regardless of what anybody else say, y'all look good too, just like us women. Y'all just as attractive, y'all just as worthy, y'all just as deserving of love as we are. And don't ever let anybody tell y'all nothing different.
Right. It's like, don't think it's just the girls. We all winning in here.
All of us. The moment that we start to be more inclusive, I don't like to be the type of person to put everything in a specific category unless it absolutely has to be there. I feel like it's the right thing to do, to try and just form some type of unity. Like I say that a lot. I talk a lot about togetherness. I talk a lot about unity. I talk a lot about just acknowledging each other for the people that we are, instead of trying to just downplay everything. Like, why do we have to break everything apart? It's the societal norm to want to just separate and segregate everybody, when really togetherness is what we need to work on. If we can come together as a people, especially as Black people, we're so much stronger together than we are apart.
You can't.
Not everybody wants to hear that, though.
The message. So anybody who's watching this video, just remember that. But yeah, it's like, trying to get my words together.
It's okay. It happens to me all the time, so I'm surprised I'm talking as much as I am right now.
Hey, it's good. That's what we're here for. Hearing your story and what you have to say. With us as Black people, us as Black people, it's just kind of like heartbreaking.
You can say it.
Yes,
you can say it. We have to say it, because if we don't say it, who will?
right. It's like seeing others tear each other down, like the colorism, I guess.
Yeah, that's the word. That's the word. I couldn't find it, but you said it.
Yeah, because when I was in high school, it was this like these dark skinned boys, and then just this dark skinned boy, and then it was a light skinned boy. They always been like, "Oh, you darky" or whatever. But it's like they were still friends, but that just still kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Right, because it's like, why do you have to say that? Why do you have to go into something that someone can't change about themselves?
Mm-hmm.
We can't. Is oh, let me take my time. Started stuttering and everything, but it is sad. It's definitely sad within your own. Like, you have to fight each other, and then you have to fight the world all at the same time.
And in my mind, I'm just, not even just in my mind, but talking to my family or like friends, like taking a person with albinism, for example, and like a person, they'll bully that person, but then I tell my friends, family, okay, but what about down the line they end up having a child with albinism? They're not gonna bully that child. Like, they're gonna love that child unconditionally,
Right.
and tell them that they're Black. And then I guess maybe it'll be a lesson for them. Like, yeah, okay, that person that I wasn't the nicest to, like, I can see how that would have affected them later on. But
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, my mom may have experienced something along those lines. My mom wasn't a bully or anything like that. Like, she knew about people with albinism, but she didn't know how they came to be or anything like that. But when you're young and when you're ignorant, in a sense of not really knowing any better and not being properly educated, you have the tendency to make certain types of comments that can be harmful to somebody else, and you don't realize it. And a family member told me that when I was born, my mom wondered if this was like her, I guess, karma. And she used to wonder if the things that she said and the things that she did were the reason why I came out with albinism. But the truth of the matter is, we have no idea, honestly. But it made you think. I realized that me being born made a lot of people think about the way that they treat other people, because not only me having albinism, but just my way of thinking, I would try and like word it in a way where it makes it a bit more personal. Like, you can say something about somebody out in the street and not care because you don't know them. They're not connected to you in any way, shape, or form. But what if that was me? How would you feel if that was me? Being criticized or being talked about or taunted in the way that you're criticizing, talking about, and taunting this person. You wouldn't like it. So you shouldn't do it to me. You shouldn't do it to anybody else.
And it's like, that just goes to the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated.
Man, if it's any message that I feel like we have to revisit in our adulthood, it's that one. It's that one. And it's in all aspects of life. It's in your workplace. It's in your educational system. It's in your home. It's on the street. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. If you can't do that, or maybe, let me rephrase. If you're treating me in a negative and like disrespectful type way, I'm going to assume that that's how you want everybody else to treat you. And if that's how you want everybody else to treat you, I'm sorry, but I'm not the type of company that you need to be keeping, because I'm not going to treat you like that. I'm not going to treat you bad. Am I going to call you out on your flaws? Yes. Do I expect you to call me out on mine? Yes, because at the end of the day, no matter how old we get, there's never enough lessons for us to learn. We have to keep absorbing information, processing information, and passing information on. Lessons, mistakes, everything. But if you treat me bad and you want me to treat you bad, I don't know how that's going to work out, because I'm not the type of person that treats people bad. You might have to find that type of energy somewhere else.
Oh man. But I'm like also like this. Like I guess maybe when I was younger I used to be a little bit mean, but not so much. But it's like I don't want to. It's like I'm in a shell, basically.
Right. It's a defense mechanism. I definitely feel like it's a defense mechanism, because I wouldn't say that I was mean, because I wasn't, but I was very standoffish. And depending on the way that I was approached, it would make me it would make my response aggressive sometimes, because like people don't realize that we have to have our guards up all the time. Mm-hmm. And really, we just want to get along with everybody. Like, we just want to be treated like regular people.
Mm-hmm. Just as the everyday person, we're like that too. Like, we might just be
just look different.
Right.
That's all. We just look different. But at the end of the day, I bleed the same color you bleed. Like, you take away the skin, my flesh, still the same color as yours. It's sad that people have to look at things like that. And then you have people who not only look at it on that type of perspective, but they teach that to other kids. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that it's right. I'm not going to tell anybody how to parent their kids or anything like that, but just imagine your child going through what a child with albinism goes through every day. Put your children, put yourself even in our shoes. Mm-hmm. Imagine feeling less than human, because I've felt that way too, where I was worth nothing to no one, and it all pertained to the fact that I didn't look like everybody else.
Yep, same here, same. Like when you were talking earlier, reminded me of another story. When I was younger, me and my older brother, who's melanated, more melanated than me, we went to this karate school, this taekwondo school, and when I think it was when I was gonna get my white belt, and the training and everything, it was this girl. We had been friends during the during that time.
Mhm.
She was like, when I first saw you, I thought you was a monster. I was like, and I'm
Wow.
like a young child, like more like elementary, middle school age.
Mhm.
And good thing with having a good uh, community, like with family and um, like circles to be around. Like that didn't really stick to me because that I know, like if I had heard that like earlier before,
Mhm.
that would have stuck with me, and I'm like, am I a monster? Like,
Right.
but and and she probably didn't mean like any harm by it. It was just children and
Right.
like don't really like have any bad intentions. But,
Children are just honest,
mm-hmm.
like overly honest. And there ain't really too much we can do about that, but make it a teachable moment.
Mm-hmm.
Even with us being the children in those situations. Like I've encountered a few different moments in my life where I was the child and something was said to me by another child that was just like wrong. Like one thing I could think of off the top of my head, I was in a room. I can't remember if this was school or anywhere else, but I was in a room and the walls were white. And you pretty much see where I'm going with this, right? Like I bet you if you leaned up against that wall, we wouldn't be able to see you. Like, how could you not be able to see me? Like I'm right here,
Right.
right here.
It's like I'm wearing stark colors. You'd be able to see me.
Yeah, I'm wearing clothes. Like I'd have to be, if we're being all the way realistic, I'd have to be completely naked and up against this wall for you to not be able to see me.
Mm-hmm.
It never made sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. People say stuff like that even now, and I'm 28 years old, and people still say stupid stuff like that out their mouth, and they think that it's funny, but it's not. I brush it off, but like it's not funny.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes it worse is when you have people around you who feel as though they can joke with you like that, and you're not on that type of level.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry.
It's like, I don't know you like that, please.
Hmm?
It's like with people who make those type of jokes with you, and it's like not really that close. Like I don't know you like that. Gotta back
Like
off.
we don't play like that. Won't play like that right here. Better take that to somebody else that you're familiar with, because me and you, we ain't on that level. I don't really joke too much about my lack of pigment with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
With anybody. That's we can joke about the fact that I can't see. Like that doesn't really bother me as much. But my absence of pigment is that's a very delicate subject for me. That's a very delicate, like any and everybody that knows me knows not to go to that point. Mm-hmm. We can joke about other things about Brianna, but not her skin. Mm-hmm. Not her skin. Talk about my hair. We can talk about anything else. Just not that.
I mean, it's like people got to learn that people have boundaries, so you can't cross those boundaries, especially if you know about them. Like,
and don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if I react to the fact that you're attempting to cross that boundary.
Mm-hmm. It's like that just goes with anything. Like just like to like either your classmates or your coworkers. Like people have boundaries. You can't cross those.
don't want nobody talking about how you done wore the same pair of pants for 2 and 3 days. You can change your pants. You can hand wash those pants. Even if those are the only pair of pants that you have, you can take those pants off when you get home and hand wash them and wear them again. I can't take off my skin, hand wash it, and put it back on. I can't inject myself with melanin. Like, it's not that easy of a fix as washing your clothes or changing your hair or anything like that. And people seem to think that we can do that. Like, we can just turn it off and on. And that just actually triggered something for me. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Have you ever had somebody ask you, okay, I'm trying to make sure that I word this properly. Have you ever had somebody ask you if you like turn on and off your blackness? Like, I've had people ask me like, oh, so when you go into job interviews, do you act white? I'm like, what does that mean, bro? How do you act white? That doesn't make sense.
From what, as far as I can think, I have not had that type of encounter before. Like, of course I've like seen it with other people, not just with people with albinism, but just in general. But me personally, I haven't had that type of encounter before.
Let me tell you, it's like, it's a joke that's been taken just a tad bit too far, I guess. And with me, it's just like, why do I have to try and be anything? Now, granted, when you're going for a job interview or a school interview, or if you're like in a more so professional setting, obviously you're going to do what you have to do to not like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Code switch.
You don't want to put too much of your ebonics into it, especially if you feel like it may jeopardize whatever it is that you're going for. Like, even right now with me talking to you, I realize that this is not like me just talking on the phone with my best friend. Like, granted, I'm allowed to be myself here, but I also am looking at it like this is a relatively professional thing. So I can't be like cursing and all types of other stuff like that, because that's unprofessional. That doesn't mean that it's me acting black or acting ghetto or anything like that. I just want to be taken seriously. And that's pretty much what it is. When you want to be taken seriously, you present yourself as something serious versus being on a more so laid back, just talking to your friends type note.
But of course you could take it that way. It's like this, of course it is like it's like,
I feel like it's important. I feel like it's important. I feel like what you're doing is important. And anybody that you ask to be a guest on your platform needs to treat it as such. There's nothing wrong with bringing your personality out, but you also have to have a certain level of seriousness, because how else do we expect to be taken seriously? We can joke, we can play, we can talk, and we can laugh and everything like that. But at the end of the day, you have a message that you're trying to relay to the public. I have a message that I'm trying to relay to the public. And I'd rather relay that message in as close of a professional way that I can without like losing my authenticity, if that makes sense. I still want to be me, but I also want to be taken seriously.
Right. It's like code switching kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely get what you mean about that. But we kind of we went on so many so many different
I'm sorry. Once I start talking, it's kind of hard to stop sometimes when I'm in that interactive mood. My brain just be like,
it's like, yes, we got to cover everything.
I think that it just comes from me spending so much time being quiet, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like not really speaking up as much as I should have over the years. Now it's just like, you won't hear everything. You won't hear everything. You'll get plenty of material talking to me.
It's like, and like this would have to probably be like a part 2 type type interview.
I'm sorry.
Oh no need to apologize. Just like we're here to hear what you have to say. Like, right. But I did want to go back to two points that we talked about before. First, your social media. So how did you get started, or how did you get interested in wanting to start your social media journey?
Honestly, it was kind of at random. I took a long time to get into any social media platform. Like a lot of my friends had MySpace when it first came out, and I was like, I don't really want that. Like I can just call you guys on the phone. Like it never really made sense to me. And then I would see other people on social media and they would talk about how different it was. Like back in MySpace days, you could put the music on the page and stuff like that. And eventually I made one. Then Facebook came out, and I'm like, well, everybody off of MySpace, I guess I might as well go ahead and make a Facebook page. And then Instagram came out, but I was a little apprehensive because of my self-image. Like the way that I viewed myself wasn't really there. I didn't have the confidence to be like, oh, hey, yeah, this is a picture of me. And one day I just decided that I'm going to go ahead and make one. And it started off as me just posting regular everyday things. And then I started to see other people with albinism. And I'm like, oh my God, like they're so confident, they're so sure of themselves. Like I want to be like that. That's the type of message that I want to push forward. And then I just started posting things about just loving yourself and being yourself. And it just went off from there.
Excuse me.
Had I known that this would take a turn the way that it did, where you can actually pursue a career in this and like get paid for it, I would have definitely jumped on the ball earlier and just started doing things a lot sooner. I feel like I'm late to the party.
Well, you're never too late to do something that you want to do.
Right. That's true.
Like, and it's like the time you started it, that was like the time you was meant to start it.
Right. That's how I had to start looking at it after a while. Now, if I could just manage to get into like the proper ways of recording videos and video editing and everything like that, I struggle with it because of my vision, but everything happens the way that it's supposed to, like you just said. I'm getting a little bit better. So I'm going to try and push more content out, more positive content out, and just bring more awareness in a way that is the same as everybody else's, but also different because of the fact that I have albinism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can do the same things that you do. That's the type of message that I'm on right now.
Mm-hmm. So I'll be definitely looking forward to what type of content you'll be pushing out. And for anybody else who wants to, check out what you post and create, you can shout out your social media.
You can follow me. You can always follow me. My page is open to the public. It's at naturally__Bree. Join the fam. I appreciate everybody's support that's following me currently too. Shout out to y'all.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be putting that in the description so people can go ahead and follow you, see what you post out, push out, I meant. And the second point that I wanted to go back to was the media's depiction of albinism.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that you had brought it up before, because that was one of the one of the topics I was going to bring up anyway. And because I know the media's depiction of albinism, it's always negative.
Right.
There has been one positive type of
character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's either have it be comic books, movies, TV shows. There's no positive representation. So have you ever, I know you had mentioned it before with stories to tell in the dark. And even then, there's been other movies just.
I didn't want to get into those. They definitely send me on a rant. I figured I'd go with a safer one.
I know this is all about, getting what you getting your thoughts out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Da Vinci Code. I think I've never watched it, so I don't know the specifics.
But I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, it's the Da Vinci Code, the Matrix Reloaded, I think.
Oh yeah, with the twins. Yeah, yeah.
Even going to movies Planet of the Apes, it was that one gorilla ape that ended up betraying Caesar. It's even with humans, we can't have, even with animals, we can't have a positive.
Right, exactly.
It's how you gonna have the only non albino animal betray the main character?
It makes us look so bad, It makes us look so bad. And the crazy part is I have been doing a lot of studying on chakra healing and crystal healing and things like that. And colors represent a lot of different things in our lives. And the color white represents innocence and purity and divinity and everything like that. And I find it crazy that we can be depicted as such negative things when our literal light is supposed to be looked at as something positive. It's supposed to be looked at as something divine. It's supposed to be looked at as something good. It's sad. It's really sad that things like that make people, melanated, colored people, look at us like there's something wrong with us. And there's really nothing wrong with us. We're people just like them.
Right. And that's the main reason why me and my brother, we're working together to make a comic book. I'm not sure if you know about it, or anybody who's watching could end up watching the video know about it, but me and my brother aside, we're working on a comic book, and it'll feature a female lead that has albinism. It's like her whole family is just going to be like, like a whole clan, like their tribes and everything.
Nice.
It's going to be normal.
I'm excited. You're the second person that I know of who is doing that. I'll probably shoot you his information, but one of my social media friends with albinism, he's also working on a comic book where there is a character with albinism. I'm not fully sure if he's a main character or not, or like a primary character or not, but for sure he's working on something too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Something inclusive.
I'd definitely be interested in seeing what he's doing or what they're doing.
If you haven't already, shout out to my bro. Shout out to Black Obsidian. I think it is comics. I have to edit that part out because I'm not even sure what the name is. But I will be sending you his information because he's doing the same thing. He's pushing forth the same message that you are. And I feel like even if I don't accomplish the things that I want to accomplish in my own social media platform, and even if I don't get my message out, I'll still push forth the message that my followers with albinism are trying to push. As long as it's a positive one, and as long as it's all about togetherness and unity, I will share anybody's content, anybody's pictures, anybody's promotions. I don't expect anything in return. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that you are actively taking it upon yourself to push forth that message. That's really important to me, because I wish that I had seen things like that growing up. And I know that there are other children out here with albinism who want to feel included and want to feel like they belong somewhere. So
right.
I just appreciate even sitting here and talking to you.
Hey, I appreciate it too. It's like you get your message out with this interview, and I'm glad that, it ended up being a way that I could, help you share it.
I feel like I'm helping you. But it all boils down to everybody just coming together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess that could also be, a part where you could share some words of advice, or like last words that you wanted to share.
Is this like words of advice towards other people with albinism?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's like I feel like you've shared so many, but
I feel like my main message, honestly, my main bit of advice for anyone who has albinism and you're struggling to find some type of peace or clarity would be, you're not alone. That's first and foremost, you're not alone. And there are plenty of us out here who would be willing to talk to you if you need someone to talk to. There's so many moments where you're just like, oh, I went through that too, or oh, I went through that too. We have our own community. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to be yourself. You don't have to pretend to be anybody else. You just have to be you. And those who love you and accept you for who you are the ones that you need to have in your life.
And of course, I always tell my guests this, but I'm gonna be taking those words personally too, because it's like just I gotta have that type of mindset as well. Like even though
Ew. I'm terrified of like rejection and my voice not being heard or my message not being received properly. And it puts me in the type of mindset where maybe I just shouldn't say anything at all. And lately I've started rewiring myself into saying, no, you have to say it. You have to say it. And you'll be surprised the type of turn that it takes for you, the more vocal you are. I spent too much time being quiet, and I feel like even if I'm stumbling over my words, even if I'm getting tongue-tied, even if my nystagmus is going out of control because my nerves are so bad, I'm still going to say what it is that I have to say, because for all I know, I may be the only one saying it. And if I don't say it, then who else will?
like you gotta share what's on your mind.
Right.
You know, anybody else is gonna say it, so just gotta do it yourself.
This was so nice.
I'm glad. I'm glad it was a nice experience. I'm happy to have talked with you and been able to share your story.
Right.
To say.
And hear yours, because I don't think we ever really got a chance to like actually chop it up the way that we talking right now. This was nice.
I'll definitely be sure to just check in and check up.
Right. If you ever want to, you can message me if you ever want to talk. It might take a little while for me to respond because I turn all of my social media notifications off. Sometimes I kind of just want to dip in and out. Mm-hmm. Or if need be, we can always exchange numbers. That's probably the easiest way to get in contact with me.
Definitely do that as well. If you're up for it.
I'm fine with that.
Just to go ahead and close it off. And I know you probably have way more stuff to talk about, so we could shoot for part 2.
I'm down for a part 2. I just talk.
And that's good. That's so good. But thank you once again for joining me. I'm honored to have had you be my guest for today. For your social media, we'll definitely put that in the description. Mm-hmm. So this has been Qiyamah Muhammad, and you just watched That's What's Up with Miss Brianna.
Everybody.
Thank you. Peace.
All right.